really extraordinary opportunity to see a wide range of artists from 18, who emerged out of 18 different schools and academies around India, paired with several conversations that we'll be having here. And what we do hope is that the conversations that begin up here at the table will also include all of you. This has been designed to be an intimate and informal opportunity to discuss ideas, not to present anybody with conclusions or answers. And so we hope you will accept this conversation in that spirit, and that you will engage with it in ways that you find appropriate. The title of this conversation is, I believe, 30 or 40 years ago did. Because today Indian artists are immediately part of a global conversation. India may be far away from New York, and may be far away from London, but those distances are meaningless now. Not just because of jet travel, but because the internet has made one community of the art world. And they share information, they share images, they share many, many things in common, and that makes for a very different, sound is getting strange. That makes for a very different situation than artists of prior generations had to experience. So I'm going to ask the panelists here to introduce themselves to you and provide you with a context so you can understand where they're coming from. For instance, I told you my name is David Ross, and I've spent no time working in the Indian art world. None. I've worked as a director and curator of art museums in the United States for 30 years, and I've visited India since 1972, most recently in establishing the Artist Pension Trust here in India as part of a set of global artist pension trusts that have been established in 8 regions around the world. And so that has most recently given me an interesting time, an amount of time to look at what's happening in Indian art. But I claim no understanding, and maybe no one here has any understanding of why things are the way they are in India. And that's for me one of the big questions, is to try to understand the state of things here, whether it's avant garde or conventional and traditional approaches to art, try to have an understanding of the way things exist. So I'm going to begin on my far left, and then we will move through the panel, and then they will each then discuss their own approach to, afterwards, will discuss their approach to and their idea about the emerging avant-garde. So first, a brief introduction.
I'm a senior curator at Palette Tokyo in Paris, but I'm originally from Japan. And I've been involved in many Asian projects which has been developed since 1990s, including like Asia Pacific Triennial, Taipei Biennial, and etc. And that gave me a lot of chance to be interested in Indian art scene. And luckily I had a chance to work with some of the Indian artists in different exhibitions in the past. Some of the group shows, and then also the triennial last year in Japan. But I have to say that I'm a contemporary art curator, and I am not an Indian art specialist. But I did some studio visits in different cities in India in 4 years ago. So it was quite an interesting experience for me.
My name is Mark. It is an international art magazine, so we cover art from all over the world, and are particularly interested in art from anywhere. I also, the art magazine is owned by a larger company called LBM, but it has a website called artinfo.com, which actually just this week opened a division called Art Info New Delhi. So it has an especial interest in global art and in particularly in Indian art. So we'll see how that emerges. But I personally only know about Indian art the way these two on my right and left do, which is to say, from the perspective of the outside and what emerges on the global scene, rather than any particular knowledge of contemporary Indian art from within India.
I am Rajendra, editor of Indian art magazine called Indian Contemporary Art Journal. It's a quarterly art magazine published from Bombay. As the name suggests, we mostly cover the Indian art, but whatever the exhibitions which takes place in London or New York or even Chicago by any Indian art gallery, that also being covered, and articles have been written by Western writers. Well, I am again the director of India Art Festival. India Art Festival is an art fair. It's a one edition old art fair. Last year only it happened first time in Bombay at Nehru Center, where almost 40 galleries from each and every city of India, that's Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai, Bangalore, Hyderabad, participated, and even some overseas galleries from Singapore, Toronto, and London participated. I hope to take this art festival at a next stage in a bigger level. We are planning it in a large scale at MMRDA grounds in Bandra Kurla complex at Bombay. Bandra Kurla complex is the biggest business district in Bombay, now bigger than Nariman Point, where all the top 500 corporate offices are situated, right from National Stock Exchange to ICICI Bank and so many other corporate offices. And go to Lina.
Contribute to several national art magazines, and I think that it's really good to be part of a platform like this, because I think we're all interested in seeing what young artists are doing. And in Bangalore, we have an interesting culture of several new spaces in which to experiment and in which young artists are able to show their work. So I hope that I will be able to share some of those little things that we are doing there with the rest of the audience today. Thank you.
I'm from Baroda. I'm an arts writer, and I have been curating in the last about 7 to 8 years. I've been observing artists and the way art has been evolving in Baroda over the last 3 decades. Thank you.
Now this term itself, Avant Garde term itself is in Indian context is not very applicable. If you look at a little bit of the historical meaning of Avant Garde, the Avant Garde art movement, which is supposed to be started, said to be started somewhere in the 1850s in Europe, was coined for particular kind of works. You know, the kind of works which were socially critical. The works which were very difficult to accept within the prevailing norms of aesthetic value are the art practice. Now, if you say, again there is a Western perspective. Avant-garde art was the art of artists who were mostly marginalized, writers, visual artists or composers, and it was a sort of art which was opposed to the mainstream art. Even they were opposed to the the industrial culture or the mass production. Now, having said this, one more thing is there. If you want to connect it to Indian context, we can stage the issue, the topic, the terms in our way, and we can take it, discuss it the way we want. Having said this, again, in the postmodernism, rather we can say after postmodernism, because we are calling postmodernism almost in the last 60 years. After postmodernism, when so much art has been produced, at least I haven't seen anything in the last 5 to 6 years which is not or which could not be accommodated in our visual language or visual vocabulary. So I don't think anything visually or socially critical is being produced which is not accepted. That was what original avant-garde term was. So in literal contemporary sense, the term avant-garde is obsolete. That is what at least I believe. Now, however, the term avant-garde is nowadays been appropriated and used to describe the works of established and celebrated artists. That's how it has been now carried on. Whatever new or the contemporary trends are there, that is being put up into avant-garde. So the historical meaning and today's meaning are totally different. The historical meaning, the term avant-garde is completely stripped of its original meaning. Now, if we want to discuss what current trends and these things are there, I don't think, first of all, it fits in avant-garde. Now, having said this, that the term avant-garde has been appropriated and used today for successful celebrated artists. As I said, the word is stripped of its meaning. However, what we can say is the notion of avant-garde is now nothing but that the art should be judged primarily on the basis of quality and originality of artist's vision and ideas. That can be said to be avant-garde. I am repeating, it can be the art based on the originality or the art judged on the originality and quality of the artist's vision and ideas. It has to be his own. Further, we in India do not have a kind of evolution of visual art that has been taken place in the Western art world, like from classical to modern to so many isms. We have not seen ism after ism coming and going in India. So in that term also, the avant-garde is completely inapplicable term. So we can simply say the new trends and new currents in the contemporary art. That is what we can talk. Now in India, if we decide to check exactly when this avant-garde movement starts, suppose we decide to stage our imagination. The socially critical art, which is not accepted, then I have little theory which I can put forward. Being based in Bombay, I know little bit of history. And second thing, being associated with the Bombay Art Society as a committee member from last 6 years, and being associated again with the Artist Center, which is again the oldest institution founded by Progressive Artist Group, Ahmed Hussain, Raja Suja. I have access to that historical document. So otherwise it is written, I think, at many places also. If you trace this origin of avant-garde, the socially critical art which is not accepted in the society, it can say to be that the first generation of modern artists.